Okay, we're going to take on services for Windows Server. This is Windows Server 2019, and we're studying for the MTA course. I don't know if this is going to be 2 parts or 3 parts or how many parts yet. Depends on the timing. So let's take on services. And the first thing I want to take on is, first of all, just what is a service. So let's see first of all what where services are on the system, and this is another one of those MMC snap-ins. So I'm going to type services.msc, and there they are, services. These are all MMC snap-ins. If I just go down here and type mmc.exe, you'll see the MMC interface. This is where a lot of different snap-ins can go. If I go add remove snap-ins, you'll see that services would be one of those snap-ins, and I can just add services to that, and I can get to the same thing. We also saw a snap-in earlier with the device manager, which is another one of the snap-ins, the device manager. And we just typed devmgmt.msc in order to get to that. But now we're going to be dealing with services.msc. These services are programs, and that's all a service really is. It's a program that runs in the background. However, it does have 2 special characteristics. A service, first of all, does not, like any other application, any other piece of software, it runs and that's all it is a piece of software. But the 2 things that that make it a service, make it special, are number 1, it has no user interface, and number 2, it has to be compatible with the service controller, that is service.exe. So if it's compatible with the service controller, so that it can be controlled by service.exe, and it has no user interface, then it is a service. So these are just programs that run in the background. Now, typically what they're doing is listening to and reacting or responding to different events. So as you can see here, things like the print, let's go to the print spooler. So it's just waiting for a print job. It's listening for a print job. When a print job comes along, it's going to respond and send that print job to a printer. And so that's what these services are doing. Let's talk about the statuses that they can be in. And really there are 3 of these different statuses. They can be running, and you can see here that this plug and play service, for example, or this power service is running. They can be stopped, in which case you don't see anything, or some of them, not all of them, can be paused. And not all, like I said, not all of them are capable of being paused, but if they are, then this pause would be highlighted, and if I clicked that pause, then they could go into a paused state. So there are really 3 different states that they can be in. There are 3 startup types, and if I right click on one and I go down to properties, you'll see this startup type option here. And well, I've got 4 entries here, but I said there are 3 startup types. Well, let me talk about these, but you'll discover that disabled here is not a startup type technically, and that's one of those gotchas on the MTA test, by the way. Know that disabled is not a startup type. Disabled means that it is not running and it will not start on its own when you start the system, when you boot up, but it is not considered a startup type. However, it does mean that it will not start when you boot the system. So automatic means that it will go into a running status. Here's the statuses. It will go into a running status. It will start up when you boot the system. Let's go back to another one that I can actually set up. Okay, some of these are controlled by Windows, not by me. So automatic means it will start when I boot the system. Automatic delayed means that it will start up, but it won't start up as I boot. It will wait until all of the automatic ones are started. Then it will wait 120 seconds, 2 minutes, and then it will begin starting up all the delayed ones. So that just enhances the boot process. The third one is manual, which means it will not start up. It will come up when you boot the Windows system, it will come up stopped, and it must be started either manually by the user or by a script or some software that starts that system. So it can be started, it's available to be started, but it will not start on its own. And finally, disabled, which is not considered an actual startup type, just means it can't be started manually or by software. That's kind of a misnomer. Actually, the system can start it. As a matter of fact, the system can take it out of disabled. For example, this is one thing that a lot of people have tried is, they don't like Windows updating on them, and let me put these in alphabetical order. And so they'll go down to Windows Update and they'll disable Windows Update. Well, guess what? Microsoft will just turn it right back on again. So disabling a system a startup doesn't necessarily stop it from being turned back on again. There are some tricks that you can do, but I'm not going to go into those because it's beyond the scope of this course in this video. So those are the startup types. Recovery options. Let me go back to properties of these things and talk about this recovery tab over here. What happens if a service doesn't start right, if something goes wrong? Well, the first failure, you have some options. Take no action, restart the service, in other words, try it again, run some program. Maybe you want it to send an email or something, so it's going to start a program that's going to do that, or try to restart the computer. Second failure, you have the same set of options. Subsequent ones, same set of options again. And then you have the option, well, when do I want to reset? When's the first failure start again? After 1 day, after 2 days, or what? And then restart the service after how many minutes? Well, now here's an interesting one. Enable actions for stops with errors. What in the world does that mean? And it's kind of a cryptic thing here. It doesn't really tell you what it means. Well, what it means is it actually turns on these, and so if you want these to work, you have to turn that thing on. This run program only turns on if you turn this on, run a program, and then you have to choose, well, what program do I want that to run? So that's called the recovery options. Let me see how much time. We're at almost 8 minutes here, so I'm going to cut this off. In part 2, we'll continue with a few more items about services.